Welcome to the SVG TV News for Tuesday, February 28th. I'm Khalil Kato with the details. Over 200 participants who live in the north of the red zone and were negatively impacted by the April 2021 volcanic eruptions have successfully completed the Life Skills Program, a sub-component of the Volcanic Eruption Emergency Project VEEP, which is financed by the World Bank and co-financed by the European Union-funded Caribbean Regional Resilience Building Facility. The skills training program, which ran for 12 weeks from November 7th to February 12th at 5 different locations in the North Central Windward constituency, was implemented by the Ministry of National Mobilization in conjunction with the Ministry of Finance. Today, at the first of 4 graduation ceremonies to be held, facilitator Vita Franklin said the Life Skills program was designed to provide approximately 1,000 participants with the socio-economic and emotional skills necessary to become more productive and active members in their respective communities.
The expected outcome is that participants would gain improvement in their interpersonal skills such as problem solving, conflict resolution, self-control, communication and negotiation. Also, existing knowledge, positive attitude and values would be reinforced along with prevention of negative attitudes and risky behavior while promoting personal and social development and the prevention of health and social problems. A SWOT analysis shows that according to the age range of participants, many young persons who are still marketable and has natural abilities gained exposure and are now better guided in their management skills, which can now be applied to their businesses. Also, participants' self-confidence and motivational levels are increased.
As she reflects on the challenges faced during the eruptions of La Soufrière, coordinator of the VEEP program and representative of the Ministry of Economic Planning, Roxanne John, congratulated the successful participants on the program.
You would have done very well to stick it out for the last 3 months to gain life skills. And life skill is for life. As we reflect on April 2021 volcanic eruptions, and we thank God for spare lives and protections throughout the eruptions. We remember how much persons, especially in the north, were substantially displaced, and that this displacement forced many to change their daily activities, since they had to adapt to new conditions in government-led and private shelters. Compounded with income loss and unemployment, the affected population had to deal with a sense of loss of community will, stress and anxiety, and increasing the demand for socio-emotional support.
Also commending the participants, representative of the Ministry of National Mobilization, Marissa Finch-Burke, said that they have done well, and she has no doubt that they will continue to do well in the future.
It's always important to remind yourself that you will be fine. It doesn't matter what is facing you or what you came through. And don't dwell on where you have been, but focus on where you want to go. The ministry is grateful, first, that Ms. Benjamin was able to run with the challenge to take the modules by storm and train the facilitators that we have with you today. So we must give thanks. Remember, in the Bible, only one leper returned to say thanks. And that's the one who got all the blessings. I don't think any of us in here would want to be hindered by not receiving the blessing.
With concerns growing about the crime situation in the country, the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force has been taking all the necessary steps to ensure the safety of citizens. This is according to Assistant Superintendent of Police Junior Simmons, who was a panelist on SVG TV's Viewpoint program last Sunday, discussing measures that can be taken to address the current spike in serious crimes, the national implications if we remain on the same trajectory, and how citizens can work with the police to minimize crime. ASP Simmons said that there are now more police present in communities across the country.
We have targeted patrols to ensure that people are safe. And right now, there's a 24-hour patrol in places that we classify as crime hotspots. So in Paul's Avenue, police officers are there 24/7, ensuring that the citizens there are safe. In Rose Place, the same thing is happening. At the boardwalk in Villa, we have patrols there as well, and in all of the communities. So while the public may be a bit apprehensive, I don't want them to lose trust in the police. I want them to know that the Commissioner of Police and every member is working tirelessly to curb the situation, to bring it under control. And we understand the level of outrage that the public has, towards the response of the police sometimes.
ASP Simmons used the opportunity to urge members of the public to share information with the police about criminals and their activities.
As well, is for the public to have a similar outrage, and even more, towards the perpetrators of crime. Because very often, they sort of go unscathed in terms of criticism. Criticism is leveled against the police force, whether rightly or wrongly. We can take it because, it's our duty to protect and serve the public. But we want the public to have an outrage against the criminals. Do not offer them any safe haven. Do not, give them the opportunity to commit another crime by you withholding important information from police that can result in a conviction or an arrest.
For the year thus far, there have been 7 homicides and 2 police killings. The public has been questioning why the police killings are not considered homicides. During the discussion, ASP Simmons and attorney-at-law Jamali John elaborated on the difference.
From a police perspective, yes, those 2 killings, they are homicides. They are homicides because a homicide is a killing of another person by another person. That's the definition. But from a legally, it was a police killing, and that would take a different course as it relates to the other 7 homicides that were reported. So I understand the public concern about hearing 9 and 7, but from the police standpoint, there are 7 homicides and 2 police killings for the year thus far.
Okay. I don't believe that we have had national concern about how many people are killed by the police, but what the public is concerned about is that when those things do happen, those investigations, we either never hear anything about them in terms of an update to the public, or sometimes the process of investigating those things takes so long. Sometimes we feel like they are being basically swept under the rug. And so if you look at the inquest, you're talking about the one involving Chambers in Camden Park, the one with CJ Weeks where it was alleged that he was killed by police officers. And I mean, these are things that have happened for so long, and then the public is just out here waiting to find out, okay, what's the update with these, right? And it is almost as if people don't want to read and talk about these things all the time, it's like the inquest will never start, or you'll never hear anything further about these things. So when police are involved, there's a feeling that there's no accountability for those actions. Whereas if I walk down the road and kill somebody, then of course I'm going to be arrested, charged, prosecuted, convicted, imprisoned. But officers seemingly can get away with homicides. You understand? So I think that's where the public is concerned about. Where is the accountability and transparency when officers take these kind of actions?
A number of measures continue to be taken to address the challenge with intra-regional flights. This is according to Minister of Tourism Carlos James, who at a news conference yesterday said while on one hand they are celebrating the daily flight service of American Airlines to the Argyle International Airport from Miami, which will commence this Friday, there is still the difficulty of having access to islands within CARICOM.
It is one of the challenges which I know at CARICOM heads level. There are discussions, and there's currently a report being prepared by the Caribbean Development Bank to see how best we can facilitate having the financing, the operationalization of a more robust intra-regional air travel in terms of air transportation. And these discussions are ongoing, and hopefully we can see some promising results in the not too distant future as it relates to intra-regional travel. But just to say that we will hopefully this year see additional fleet expansion for Caribbean Airlines. I believe they're adding about 4 ATRs to their existing fleet to operate within the Southern Caribbean. We expect to see fleet expansion for inter-Caribbean airways as well, and they will be increasing their fleet. And I believe they will add a new ATR as well to try to address the demand. There's a huge demand for intra-regional travel, and I know all of the regional air carriers, they are doing their best to see how they can facilitate the demand that is there to take persons from one destination to the next within CARICOM.
Minister James said a serious void has been left with the absence of LIAT, but they are hopeful for the expansion of other airlines servicing the region, including SVG. Minister James also announced on Monday that they have approved the flying rights for Conviasa Airlines to fly from St. Vincent to St. Vincent from Havana, Cuba.
As you know, they operated Caracas Argyle International Airport. Now they're looking to expand their operation Havana to Argyle International Airport. And we're hoping to see the commencement of those flights from March 31st of this year, which is in a few weeks' time. We know of the high demand for travel, particularly between Havana and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We know usually it's one of the locations where we see a lot of what we consider commercial tourism, where persons will come here and support, the business community and take back a lot of goods and so on to Cuba. And we're hoping we can see a full flight coming in the next coming weeks from Havana into Argyle International Airport.
On the J.F. Mitchell Airport on the Grenadine island of Bequia, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves told Parliament last Thursday that night landings no longer take place at the airport due to safety concerns about the precarious nature of the approach into the airport and the problems created by the deterioration and subsequent removal of the electrical systems. He was responding to a question from opposition leader and Member of Parliament for the Northern Grenadines, Dr. Godwin Friday, on whether the government has any intention or plans to reinstall the lights and other necessary equipment to enable night landing at the airport.
There were constant problems being experienced with the lighting system. The transformers, which are an integral part of the aerodrome lighting system, would blow out very frequently, and time and again we would send teams to dig up the area and place new ones, only to have them blown out a few months later. The Department of Civil Aviation would have met with the technical staff to discuss the recurrent problem and was informed that the root of the problem lies in how the wiring was done when the airport was built. It was not done with ducts, DUCTS, along the sides and across the runway, and the construction of pits at intervals as we have at the Argyle International and Cannon airports, but was done with armored cables which do not provide adequate protection at the points where the cables connect to the transformers. The exposed transformers were therefore more susceptible to environmental degradation. There were also concerns about the approach into the airport. There was a precision approach path indicator, PAPI, in use at this airport. It provides guidance to an aircraft landing while it is on final approach, so that the aircraft does not fly too high or too low to make a safe touchdown. In 2012, based on the results from a flight check, the Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority ordered that the PAPI be turned off as it was placing the aircraft on a dangerous path. It is believed that the glide slope was too high, and to set it lower would place the aircraft in danger of collision with the rocks. Its use in the circumstances is considered to increase rather than reduce risk. The approach lighting system became unserviceable, and due to the runway lights also being unserviceable, the pylons were removed in 2016.
The Prime Minister also told Parliament that it is well known in the industry that some local airline pilots refuse to fly into Bequia at night, and many individuals refuse to fly there, whether day or night.
A safety assessment would have to be carried out at the airport before night landing can recommence. The external obstruction lights which were on the hills around the airport were being vandalized from time to time, and some of the solar panels and other installations were stolen. In view of the fact that the location of these facilities outside of the airport compound made them prime targets for vandalism, and considering that night landings were no longer taking place at the facility, a decision was made to remove those installations. So, Madam Speaker, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines has requested a full survey and safety assessment that it be conducted at the airport. If that is of sufficiently satisfactory, given what I've just said, consideration will then be given to address issues like the rehabilitation of the electrical system, the lighting of the obstructions, and procurement of a generator, among other requirements which would be necessary before night landings can be restored.
Prime Minister Gonzalez is not against parliamentary representatives of the opposition submitting roadworks for consideration by the government, but he is against site visits with them for road improvements in their respective constituencies. The Prime Minister was responding to a question on the matter in Parliament in the absence of Minister of Transport and Works Montgomery Daniel. He said submissions for roadworks are made on an ongoing basis through questions and speeches by members of the opposition who can do so freely, but he does not think they have the capacity to submit a project for consideration.
We're welcome if you can do that. Is the Honourable Minister available for site visits with the parliamentary opposition for road improvements in their constituency? I don't know if the Deputy Prime Minister, the Minister, will do that, so I can't speak for him. For my part, I wouldn't walk about with anybody from the opposition, because the last time I encountered them in a public place, I got my head boss. Yes. You can't tell me what to move on from, you know. Yeah. There are many things you should move on from too. How soon is it possible for the Honourable Minister to accompany him? Well, I answered that. In relation to the actual issue of Suckhole, the Bragsa is doing an assessment on that road. It's an open road to determine the scope of works and the associated costs. And I want to say to the residents in the area, they can take my word that I will stay on top Bragsa to ask them about how the assessment is going for that particular piece of open road.
Registrar for Internal Medicine at the Modern Medical Complex in Georgetown, Dr. Patriana Badnock Williams, said that colon cancer is among the top 4 or 5 cancers in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Dr. Badnock Williams, who was a guest on the NBC Radio's Face-to-Face program recently, said that over the years they have seen an increase in colon cancer.
Colon cancer is definitely among the top, within the top 4 or 5 cancers in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I think in the last 4 to 5 years, maybe even 6 years or 10 years, we would have seen an increase in the incidence of colon cancer. And I think simply because we have the capacity to do more screening, right? And there are persons who often present as an emergency.
Okay. And do you think the education and persons being more aware would attribute to the fact that you're seeing lesser persons are getting treated earlier?
I think people are becoming
themselves.
Right, they're becoming more aware because I think most persons know now that the service is available.
Okay.
And once what we would always hope for the patient is that they present early so that we can have a better outcome and prognosis.
All right.
Speaking on the symptoms to be concerned about for colon cancer, Dr. Badnock Williams said they include changes in bowel habits, blood in stool, and a tumor or lump in the stomach area.
Signs, symptoms, what to look for, change in your bowel habit. So you have to know as the patient what is your normal toilet habit. If you're accustomed to go to the toilet once or twice every day and you start noticing that you start skipping days, you look at the shape and size of your stool. If you start seeing the consistency changing, then it should be a reason of concern to you. If you notice blood in your stool, whether it's bright red or dark red, or if your stool itself is dark or black, normal stool would be yellow to green to brown, different shades depending on what you eat.
Right.
And there are medications like your iron supplements that can also darken the stool. So you have to be aware, fine, if I'm taking my iron supplements and my stool is dark, if I stop, then the stool goes back to its normal brown or yellow color. So that's to change in your bowel habit, your color of your stool. If you're feeling pain in the abdomen and you don't already have a reason or an explanation for that pain, then you should also be concerned. And for weight loss, anemia, and if you're literally feeling a tumor, a lump, or bump in your tummy, then you should be of concern.
Noting that for any cancer, early detection is key. The gastroenterologist said that the disease is treatable. However, it is important to do early screening.
Yes, it is. So the trick is for any cancer, early detection is key. And this is why it is important, and we will stress the screening. While colonoscopy is the preferred and most effective method of screening, there are other modalities that are available. The colonoscopy, for one, is invasive. We do use sedation, so you will have to go to sleep to have the procedure done. And you have to do what we call a bowel preparation, because the stool needs to be cleared from the bowel for the procedure to be effective. So for persons who may have chronic conditions or other illnesses that would put them at a higher risk for sedation, or if they simply don't want to do the test, then it's always advisable to have the option for, you have the stool test, it's stool occult blood test, that should be done once per year. Usually I would advise for 3 samples to be taken, 1 sample per day for 3 days, 3 separate days, so that you catch stool from the different segments of the colon, and that will be tested for blood in the stool. If there's blood in the stool, then the referral should still be made for that person to have a colonoscopy done.
Dr. Badnock Williams said that the colonoscopy screening service is offered through the public service system, including district clinics, the Modern Medical and Diagnostic Center, and the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. The Bishop's College Kingstown is preparing to mark its 60th anniversary in January 2024. The Anglican Government-Assisted Secondary School opened its doors on January 20th, 1964 to offer a secondary education to Anglicans and non-Anglicans. The Reverend Father Overton Jilts was the first principal. A news release issued today said the Right Reverend C. Leopold Friday, Bishop of the Windward Islands and Chair of the Board of Governors of the institution, recently met with members of the board, the principal and staff, alumni and some parents to lay the foundation for the path to the 60th anniversary. An anniversary planning committee is now in place with Rodney Small and Anjanella Young as co-chairs, with Bernard Joseph and Sean Tanner Brewster as co-vice chairs. The committee also includes other alumni, the principal, as well as representatives of the Board of Governors. The anniversary celebrations are expected to begin in June 2023 and culminate in June 2024. The Anniversary Planning Committee urges all alumni here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and in the diaspora to establish contact with the leaders of the committee and also the institution to share their thoughts and ideas, and also to be a part of the planning process and the eventual activities. The next meeting of the Anniversary Planning Committee is scheduled for Monday, March 6th at the institution, beginning at 4:30 p.m.